views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey, nice to have you with us. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to writers and editors and reporters and journalists and filmmakers and photographers and artists. And I say that advisedly because our second segment today, we're going to talk to a very popular City Island artist who has some really fantastic new work. But to get the program started, we're going to bring back, I don't want to say an old friend, but a friend. Rebecca Lewis, Rebecca C. Lewis is how you read her byline on City and State magazine. Nice to have you back with us, Rebecca.
It's nice to be back. It's exciting time.
Exciting times. I was thinking this is must be a very busy and frankly exciting time for City and State journalists. You've got the deposement of a very powerful governor and now a new governor. Let's just talk about that directly. You wrote about Kathy Hochul being the new governor. What are your general thoughts now about the task in front of her and how well she's prepared to undertake that task or those tasks?
Well, there are many tasks ahead of her as she comes into the office just a couple days now. We have an ongoing impeachment investigation that is, was put on the back burner, was said it was going to end when he resigned, but is back on. We have, obviously, the Delta variant of the coronavirus. We have the end of the eviction moratorium and rent relief that is not getting out there either. Not to mention any of the other things that are going on, budget, environment, the list is endless. She comes in with, a fair amount of experience, comes from local government, worked her way up, was in Congress, has been lieutenant governor for the past, almost 2 terms for former Governor Cuomo, has been all over the state. Doesn't seem like she's planning to stop that anytime soon. If her recent schedule of appearances is any indication, she's been all over the state even now. But she's promised change, she's promised accountability, transparency, and it's a big tonal shift. But we're still kind of have to wait and see, what that looks like. Does she make good on those promises?
One of the tasks is going to be because now there are I don't want to say now because it's been this way, 3 Democratic leaders in the state. Do you have a sense that the 2 leaders of the Senate and the House are ready to, the Assembly, not the House, are ready to embrace her, and the members, at least the Democratic members, are ready to welcome her and kind of get on board for whatever the new government and the new administration has?
No, is from everything that they've been saying so far publicly, they seem to be excited. I think Speaker Hasty said he's never been happier to be in the minority, given that we now have 2 women and 1 man in a room as opposed to 3 men in a room.
That's right.
So they are looking forward to a more collaborative governor as she's promised, and even Republicans are hoping for a change in tone. They're not all writing her off immediately. They are, hopeful that there will be more collaboration, that maybe there will be, a different tone, more talking in Albany. I think everyone's looking forward to see what she has to offer, what she's going to do, and how she's going to handle her new role.
I think it was somewhat predictable originally when Carl Hasty, the Speaker of the Assembly from the Bronx, of course, said that, we're not going to pursue, this whole idea of impeaching Governor Cuomo formally. But then it came back on. What's your sense of why? I heard a lot of, undercurrent of dissatisfaction with the idea of dropping it. After all, Democrats were, vehemently opposed to dropping the impeachment of President Trump after he left office. What's your sense now of why that happened? And is that going to ultimately play out and, frankly, distract the next governor somewhat, because that's going to make major headlines?
It's hard to say. It's if it the way that I see it is there is a lot of public pressure and pressure from his own members to at least release the report. There were members of the Judiciary Committee as well who who thought that they at least needed to release the report that showed their findings. It's not a sure bet that impeachment is even going to go forward. It's just sort of ending this investigation. There's so many other issues other than just the sexual harassment. There is, his book deal and what went into writing former Governor Cuomo's book deal, that when he was writing about his memoir about fighting the COVID crisis. There is the Mario M. Cuomo bridge and, potential there of, rolling it out too fast, some shoddy workmanship, of covering up nursing home deaths. There's so many different other issues that the impeachment inquiry was looking at as well, that not just the sexual harassment, that people wanted to see what would come of that. So will that impact Kathy Hochul? It's hard to say. It doesn't directly impact her, certainly. If it plays out, it will be in the Assembly and then in the Senate. She doesn't necessarily have to get distracted by it. But that's if, the Assembly brings articles of impeachment. Carl Hastie has only promised to continue the investigation. Right. He hasn't promised that there will be articles brought.
Well, now we know when that happens, we can bring you back and we can talk about that. But, normally downstaters would immediately look at a governor from Buffalo and say, here we go, downstate, upstate conflicts. I thought it was a stroke of a genius to say that she was going to pick a person of color from downstate, and she ended up going with Senator Brian Benjamin as lieutenant governor. What do you think? I mean, he's got a record in criminal justice reform, which is certainly one of the many things on your list there, things that have to be dealt with. What do you think about her selection of Brian Benjamin?
Well, it certainly it makes political sense at the very least. She is obviously looking forward already to her potential reelection, about balancing out her ticket. And Benjamin is not just balances things out geographically, he also in a way balances things out ideologically. He is
and ethnically as well,
and ethnically. He's a black man from Harlem as opposed to a white woman from Buffalo. So it makes sense. It's a pretty balanced ticket, and he brings in some of that progressive sort of left wing credentials that a moderate like Kathy Hochul, who kind of famously was opposed to driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants when she was Erie County clerk, which is something that's come back to haunt her on numerous occasions. That she can say that she has Brian Benjamin, who has been a key proponent for a number of different criminal justice reforms. He said that he backs defunding the police. So, he comes in and he's this a more left-wing voice for her moderate voice, a downstate voice, a voice of color. And, that should, help her when she's seeking reelection. But it's, that's still a long way away. And we still need to see who's going to try to challenge her and who might try to challenge him in his own race.
Just to stick with the notion of criminal justice reform, which I've heard from numerous constituents and all different people, is about bail reform, that people understand why it was necessary, but they think that judges should be given greater discretion as to whether or not they impose bail or not, rather than have the rules dictated. Do you and my discussion with elected officials is mixed. Do you have a sense that it will be some say, don't touch it, it's fine as it is, and others say, yeah, maybe we can reform it? Do you think there is bail reform in our future in New York State?
It's in one of her first interviews since becoming governor with the New York Times. She was specifically asked about bail reform, and Governor Hochul seemed to indicate that she sees room for potential reforms, potential tweaks. But whether that happens, I don't know. there have been reforms passed. There has been slight rollbacks to the original bail reform that was passed. I don't know if there is a appetite for it among the lawmakers. And, for a new governor who's looking to build bridges, as she says, I don't know if it's going to be an issue that she necessarily tries to push, considering it's, an issue that has already been rolled back slightly, but it's always possible.
Well,
She's someone who's,
It's almost like the last thing she needs is to have that discussion be in the news when there's so much more going on. I have to tell you, as a New York State resident and a constituent, I was quite relieved, even though it was disappointing, to read soon after she became governor, she immediately released new numbers on COVID that were 12,000 different from what Governor Cuomo had left with. As I say, very disappointing that was the case, but maybe a sign of relief about that sort of thing. And I have to tell you, I felt the same way when she imposed mask mandates in the schools. I'm hoping that she will take a closer look at it, and in an open-minded way, not to try and protect her political standing, but really help us all figure out how to really deal with this. You have a sense that that's at least that's what it appears she's going to be, right?
Well, yeah, I think she's coming into a lot of things with an open mind, and certainly she's been taking she's been making moves and kind of taking steps to ensure that she is seen differently than Cuomo. She hasn't really said his name, but people who are listening can.
I hadn't noticed that. Thank you for bringing that up.
She is, in her first public address, she did not mention him by name, but she did say several things, I'm disappointed with the way that the rent relief has been rolling out. I'm going to change our sexual harassment policy so that the trainings have to be in person so that you can't just click through it. Cuomo kind of famously was questioned about whether he actually did his sexual harassment training, which is currently done online. So, she's definitely trying to differentiate herself from Cuomo.
Right.
And I think that means coming in with an open mind and really making good on those promises of collaboration, whether that's bail reform for something maybe she's interested in revisiting, or, something else, or, COVID or anything like
Rebecca,
that.
we got to run. Thank you so much for joining us. Your expertise is much needed. One of the things we didn't talk about was the eviction and the eviction moratorium. We're going to do that on Bronx Talk this week. So we'll cover that as well. And we'll bring you back as things go on. Of course, you're just one of the most important reporters we have over there at City and State Magazine, cityandstatenewyork.com. And thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca Lewis.
Thanks for having me on.
Great. We'll take a short break. When we come back, an artist at City Island who you know, who you love, and he's got some new stuff that really is very interesting about Bronx people. Don't go away.
If you're struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Welcome back to the Bronx Buzz. And right now we're going out to City Island. What could be better at the end of the summer as we get toward the Labor Day holiday than to go to City Island? And let's say hello to our friend at the Focal Point Gallery. It's our longtime buddy, Ron Terner. Nice to have you with us, Ron.
Thank you. It's good to see you, and thank you for having me.
There were a couple of things that inspired this visit to our program. One of many that you've done over the years is you had two, I thought, fascinating concepts. You decided, because you're right near Orchard Beach, that you go to Orchard Beach all the time, and you said there are people you see all the time, and you decided to make like a photo show out of it. Talk to me about what the inspiration was, and then who it was that we were looking at.
I've been walking over to Orchard Beach for years now, early in the morning, to take photographs and to, of course, take my dog Monita for her exercise as well as my exercise. And I would always run into the same people. And after a while, I started to get to know the people, and I decided to photograph them and become a little more familiar with them, like asking them what their name was, what they did. And 9 times out of 10, people are more than happy to share their lives with you. And especially, this all started during the COVID, the height of COVID. It was a safe place to go out and walk. And, you know, you could still keep a safe distance. And people were lacking this connection. And it was a way of connecting with people. And that's what it was really all about.
We're going to take a look, obviously, at some of the photographs. Tell me visually what you saw. I know when I look at the portraits, and you are just one of the best portrait. There you go. You are one of the best portrait takers that I've ever met. Tell me what it was when you saw these people that made you say, you know what, visually, this is worth taking a look at.
Well, almost all the people that I see, I find interesting. I love people's faces, and I want to try to capture the face and see if it could tell the story. But even better yet, let me find out a little bit about them. Like the first one, that was Lewis. And I gave him, what I do is I always carry the photographs with me. So in case I do come across them again, I give them back their photographs.
Oh, that's nice.
They're sharing with me their life, and I figure I should share what I do. And it's, again, making a connection. And Lewis who was so happy with the pictures that he got. And he was an interesting man. He was a veteran. He did 2 tours in Baghdad. He was suffering from PTSD, and he went to Orchard Beach and Pelham Bay Park, that area, to go fishing because that helped him to get rid of the stress. The guy on the bike, that was Scott. Now, Scott's an interesting guy. What he does is that he's a scientist who's been working on the COVID, the vaccine, and he's a scientist from Einstein. And what he does before he goes to work, he rides the bike to Orchard Beach and then rides it all the way then to Einstein.
Wow. What's really fascinating to me, aside from the what I think are beautiful portraits, and we're going to show more in a second, is this is such a slice of life. And I have to tell you, I'm particular to Bronx life. This is who we are. So you got one guy, he served in the military and he goes fishing. Another guy is, a scientist at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, researching the most important stuff of our time, and he's at Orchard Beach. This is the Bronx. This is who we are, and I believe you've captured it. Here we go.
Yeah, that's Carlos. Carlos is originally from Cuba. I've photographed him now for years. That is Alex. Alex is a retired now motorman who, has a back problem, and walking helps his back problem. This is that was Ash. He was funny. He said his friends call him Ash Man, and he doesn't mind. He's a stone carver in the Bronx by Tremont for the headstones, and he does the sandblasting, and he says he could sandblast just about anything you want, the names, the pictures, but he does all the tombstones, all the sandblasting.
Wow. Wittingly or unwittingly, Ron, you really got a slice of Bronx life. I mean, when I hear even these brief bios of people, this is really the heart and soul of the Bronx. And all it was you saying, you know what? Orchard Beach. Let's take a look and see what people are doing. And you really do see these people essentially every morning.
Almost every morning. I mean, Lily, for example, who was praying like that,
Right.
she comes every Monday to collect the cans because Monday is a better day to collect all the cans.
And tragically, that is part of the Bronx, right?
And she's put her kids through college with the additional revenue from collecting cans.
Wow,
And
you got
she's such a sweet lady.
You got to write a book. I got to tell you something. If you want to put it in a book, and this photograph I just love. If you want to put it in the book, I'll be happy to write the blurbs for you.
That would be great. I would like
this. I love because she looks anything but a nasty woman. If that ain't the Bronx, I don't know what
that is Nancy. She is one strong person. She walks every single day, rain, shine, in the snow. She is so into walking that she went to Spain and did the famous walk in Spain, which is called the Camino de Santiago, which takes 4 to 6 weeks, 500 miles.
Wow.
That she walked. And she walks every day to Orchard Beach and further.
And the other ones, they're all just iconic photographs. Now, are these on display at the Focal Point Gallery? Can you purchase them? I assume things are for sale.
If somebody requests, I can print them. What I do, as I said, I make sure that the person gets a picture, because I do carry them with me when I go for my walk. And I put them up on Instagram and I put them up on Facebook to share the images with people, for people to realize that the Bronx, as you said, and Orchard Beach and Pelham Bay Park is a gift to us, that it's an amazing place. It's a melting pot. You can find such wonderful people. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, people are more than willing to share their experiences.
These are people with soul, man. I got to tell you, they really are, and you really captured it absolutely beautifully. Now, I do. You also did something, and I'm always fond of your work. But you have T-shirts.
Yep.
You created T-shirts out of some. You've done all kinds of things. Hold up one. I know Rebecca has pictures that we could show.
Well, of course, I have pictures of the bridge, so that we miss so dearly. So I put my pictures up on the T-shirt.
I got it. And Rebecca will put some of those pictures up. Yeah. And so you made a whole bunch of them, right?
I made a whole bunch, different views of the bridge, because that's a popular one. Then I just got the latest, the old, when you come to City Island, you go to the diner, but the diner used to be the donut shop when I came to City Island in 1974, and that's what it looked like at night.
Wow.
So, just to take some of my old imagery, and I also have to think in terms of making.
Well, you want to make a couple of dollars. Nobody would deny that.
So I figured, I see fantastic artwork on people's clothing. So I figured, let me try it with mine.
Wow,
that's the series of the Goddesses of Pelham Bay Park. Oh, there I am back in 1974.
Wow.
Camped out in the back of my first store.
There's a whole
that as an anniversary for myself.
There's a whole selection of them. Now, I guess it's tougher during the pandemic to do stuff, but you've got a show coming up, right?
I have a show coming up this Saturday. It's called Artist Choice, which I put out a call. I don't refuse any artist who comes in with work. That's what I've been doing for quite some time now. If you give me the work, I will put it up. We have an opening. The work stays up for the entire month. So this month we can go back to what I was doing before COVID, and the artists choose what they want to put up, and that's what I
And
put
so
up.
the opening is
This
Labor
Saturday.
Day weekend, Saturday.
Yep,
And
from
what time?
1 to 5, refreshments, wine and cheese, milk and cookies for children. So it's
Everybody welcome. I wanted to ask you about this because one of the things that, as you know, I've well enjoyed and we've promoted them on our programs is the notion of children's artwork. You do things with schools. Have you been able to do it through the pandemic, or has that been one of the things that unfortunately has had to be put aside?
Unfortunately, we had to skip the April. That's generally when we would do it.
Oh, and last April 2020
April,
was,
we couldn't do
yeah,
it.
and even 2021 was great.
So I'm hoping for this coming April for next year that things will go back to normal and I can do the children's show. And I got to say, and that's sponsored by Joe Moscato, who I think you may have interviewed at some time.
Mhm.
He's a photographer friend who helps finance that particular show. And I love children's artwork, as you know, and it's a fantastic show.
And what better way to inspire children to do better and to see their artwork. Hey mom, look, here I am, displayed here at a real art gallery. So let's just capture it. Focal Point Gallery, what's the address?
That's excuse me, 321 City Island Avenue. Of course, that's in the Bronx.
You're really right in the center of City Island Avenue. You're really right in the middle there.
That's right. And if somebody wants to call, it's 718-885-1403.
Right. One of the great places, and I was talking to my producer, Rebecca Hemick, and I told her that the next time she comes to City Island, have dinner, stop at Focal Point Gallery, say hello to Ron. There's always interesting stuff. There's T-shirts, there's portraits of people, there's all kinds of great stuff. You're really doing great work, and you've been doing it for decades. And I'm proud to call you a friend. Thank you so much, Ron Terner.
Same here. Thank you.
Okay. So that's it for this evening. And as always on the Bronx Buzz, we go from one end to the other. We talked about the new governor, and we went all the way to City Island and talked to one of our favorite artists. So we'll see you next week. Good night.